Mr. Lexington was a cobbler or shoemaker in Lafayette, France in the mid-1800s. The Industrial Revolution was on the rise all across Europe in 1860, and Mr. Lexington soon found himself swept into the middle of the changing world. One of the richest men in France, Mr. Boonstow, opened a shoe factory in the growing city of Lyon, the city closest to Lafayette. Soon, Mr. Lexington was out of business and working in the factory as part of an assembly line. Assembly lines reduce skill level by appointing a small task to each worker. This process of limiting the amount of skill needed to carry out a task is called de-skilling. Notice that the prefix de means to separate or reverse. So now, no longer was a skilled cobbler needed to produce shoes. Mr. Boonstow was producing quadruple the amount of shoes Mr. Lexington was making before, and he was profiting immensely. However, Mr. Boonstow paid his workers very poorly and forced them to work 10 hours or more every day. This change of income and work environment brought about the new classes of people and class separation. Class separation is a separation of people based on wealth and income. This class separation caused by factory systems created two groups known as the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. The bourgeoisie were the middle and upper class citizens during the European Industrial Revolution. The proletariat were the poorer working class citizens during the European Industrial Revolution. The working class found itself pushed to the bottom, working the hardest and getting paid the smallest. The workers formed what is known as a working class consciousness. Working class consciousness is the mindset and understanding amongst the working class about their position in society. This consciousness formed largely due to the fact that the working class was forced to urbanize and move into the same areas of town. They were moving from the countryside to the cities, closer to the factories. These circumstances caused Mr. Lexington to call for the proletariat to come together and form a strong camaraderie. On a cold winter night, Mr. Lexington led the workers in a march onto the shoe factory and burned it to the ground in protest of the unfair treatment and wages they were being subjected to. He and his co-workers were attempting to fight against the strengthening divide between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat and the abuse of capitalism during the Industrial Revolution. The end.